throw on my coat, walk downstairs, and I'm like, how do I get into the water?
Right, you don't have rubber boots.
I don't have rubber boots, and I look around and
buy some rubber boots.
Well, I see my wife's rubber boots. She's a size
those aren't going to fit.
6 in women's, and I was like, I'm going to make this work.
Butterscotch Shenanigans. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 197 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the game dev comedy podcast, Butterscotch Shenanigans. I'm Seth, and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Adam, and I'm the grammar of prose.
I'm Sam, and I'm the artiste.
And this is a show where we talk about life, business, and working in the games industry. Today is April Dummos Day, 2019. This is April 1st, April Fool's Day, where everybody gets tricked.
Like we all feel like dummos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get started, we have a warning. Anything can happen on this show. There's going to be profanity, and we're going to talk about things. We're adults. You're an adult. Everybody's an adult. If you're not an adult, then you can't listen.
Or you can, as long as you don't tell anybody.
Yep.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
I'm pretty sure that's how that works. That's how it worked when I was growing up.
Yep,
That's how it works for every kid. Yeah. Also, we would like to thank our supporters from moneygrab.bscotch.net who bought us some coffees to keep our bodies caffeinated throughout the podcast. We'd like to thank Maddie. We'd like to thank Mike, who said, don't spill it all in one place, which is good.
That's very good advice.
And we have done that on multiple occasions, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Nice reminder.
I think part of the reason Seth got this giant jug of water was because it's got such a wide base. You can't slap it over.
Yeah,
Although if you do slap the whole thing over.
Oh, yeah, you're done.
That's a whole
That's
gallon
like a
of water.
tidal wave bringing the flood into the office.
Well, it's got a lid on it, so it just has sort of a small opening. So it's probably not the whole gallon is going to come out at once, but
Maybe.
If it did, that would
I have literally dumped just a straight up, completely full cup of coffee on the floor before. I think like a month after we got in the office, I just brought a cup of coffee up. I just had it sitting down. I put it in the middle.
And you're like, the floor looks tired.
And I just smacked it, and just the whole thing. 8 ounces doesn't seem like a lot of liquid, but as soon as it's on the floor,
once you spread it out real thin.
Yeah.
The problem I've been having is that I accidentally this morning even hit the 12-ounce button on the little Robo Barista downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
And it fills the coffee cup literally
right to the brim.
Right to the brim. And so then you have this precarious act where you carry the coffee across.
Now,
and it's so hot that you can't drink it. So you have to just sit there and sort of like sip it.
Yeah.
But with extreme sipping power.
What you should get is, how in a distillery, there's those super long coily deals because the whole idea is you can cool it down with enough surface area. You need a straw like that. That's
crazy
super,
straw.
like a crazy straw that's super crazy.
Crazy cool straw.
A crazy cool straw for cooling, but also it's made out of I don't know, something really conductive like gold.
You need a
Yes.
golden crazy straw.
You're right. I do need this.
Now,
in my life.
I'm also
that would solve the problem.
Sam, I'm also noticing that the mug that you've selected today has a pouring spout on it.
Yes.
So I guess this is for...
It was even more troublesome today.
Because now you've got this really easy way to just accidentally pour your coffee right out.
To be fair, this was the only mug available downstairs when I got
Why
it.
does it have a pouring?
I don't know.
It looks like a measuring cup.
That's
It
weird.
does, and I don't understand it. It's clearly for drinking, and it's like no one's going to drink out of the pouring spout. If it
Maybe
were
it's
on
actually
the
no,
side,
it's for drinking and sharing. Because that way you fill yours to the brim, you bring it upstairs. Somebody else has got their coffee cup. You pour half yours in there.
and then we just pour it on the ground. Finish the
Yeah,
whole,
well, that's
share
the
it with
last step.
the whole thing.
But again,
Yeah.
Mike's specific instructions were not to do that. Don't spill
right,
it all in one
right,
place.
right.
Spill it in 2 places.
Which is
or more.
That's what we
Two
were.
or more
We just solved it.
Oh, that's
spread the
there you
wealth.
go.
Yeah.
Spilled in 2 places.
Also,
Also, IrishLuck, new recurring supporter. Thank you very much for that. And we've also got a whole bunch of other recurring supporters who we would like to thank as well. So you guys are keeping our microphones on. All right, on to life news.
We should also say thanks to all the people who've been buying up the merch.
Oh, yeah. We've
We're like a shipping just industry over here.
Yep.
We're still on a merch purge.
Yeah.
Merch Purge 2019.
April merch purge 2019. We're trying to get rid of all of our merch, so it's the prices are slashed down to the merch has bones, right?
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
it's way down there.
Yeah, it's real gross, actually.
There's a lot of meat.
We use one of those really thin boning knives is what they're called.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yep. Boning knives.
Boning knife.
That's what they're called. It's an unfortunate name. But
It's
that is exactly-
for getting out bones?
it's for basically getting stuff off of bones, you know?
How is it different just from a knife?
It's super sharp and thin, so you can get in there.
You can really get in there.
Is it flexible?
I don't know if it's
I was
flexible.
watching-
It's like a noodle. It's like
I
a
don't
really
have
sharp
one.
noodle.
I wanted one because I used to take bones out of a chicken when I wanted to have a fun floppy entire chicken.
That's just a
And
fun
just-
time.
just what
Which
you
is
want to do
tough.
sometimes.
But that's a lot of fucking work, especially if you don't have a boning knife.
Interesting. I watched Gordon Ramsay yesterday. He was
He's a
filleting a
magician.
fish,
Yeah.
and he had one of those. It's a fish fillet knife, I guess, or filleting knife, and so they're super flexible. And he was like showing off how flexible it was, and then it just snapped. Half the blade just like shot across the room. I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, so fuck me. Which I love Gordon Ramsay.
That's the appropriate reaction when you've accidentally hurled a blade across the room.
Yeah, he looked around because there were 7 other chefs like in the room. And he's like, can I just... We did.
Does anybody have a boning knife in them, in their body?
In your bones?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to get in on this deboned merch train, you could go to shop.bscotch.net.
We've done all that hard work for it.
Oh, it's like a floppy chicken over there. Just get on in there.
Flop around.
Watch out for flying blades. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about life. Talk about Sam's drain. Talk about drain.
So, yesterday, I wake up in the morning feeling all chipper. You know,
It's a Sunday morning.
How they get you.
Yep, so that's how you know something bad's gonna happen because you feel too good. So I get up, and
the universe needs to put you back.
and I run around, and I'm just kind of putting the house back together. And
this is after you took it apart. I assume.
You got to do that every weekend. Take it apart, clean it.
It's like a gun. You know?
It is. Oil it. It is. So I'm doing the dishes, doing all sorts of stuff, and then I'm about to head back upstairs because I got a phone call with a friend at 9 a.m. And at this point, it's 8:50. And I look out the backyard, and it seems like there's a small pond where my driveway used to be. And I'm like, it
has been raining a lot.
It has been raining a lot, and I did not put a pond there. So I thought, I probably have a blocked drain. And our drain is what's called a bucket drain, which is what they used to build apparently in like the 1900s. Literally, it's just like a huge hole in the ground. And then there's a spout that's actually not at the bottom of it, but sort of toward the top. And so the thing has to fill up a bunch before water starts leaving, right?
That's also how my air conditioner has a tray in it for catching water. And it also, like, it doesn't start leaving it because then it can then go into the floor drain, you know? But also it has to get to the top first before it leaves it. So we had some overflow problems.
Yes. Okay. Reason. So I'm not sure why this is the way this is.
I'm trying to envision the rationale, but okay.
I don't know. We've had to have it cleaned out a few times. And last time we installed, by installed, I mean just wrapped wire mesh around the top of it so that it catches like all leaves and stuff. So I was like, I probably just I didn't clean it out yet.
Flick that thing off or something.
Gotta go clean it off and then it'll just go. So problem is that there's this huge pool of water now that's like probably 2 or 3 inches deep. And it seeps into the garage just a tiny bit. And so I'm like, okay, I need to get out there. I got about 7 minutes now before this call. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get this done. So I throw on my coat, walk downstairs, and I'm like, how do I get into the water?
Right. You don't have rubber boots.
I don't have rubber boots. And I look around and
buy some rubber boots.
Well, I see my wife's rubber boots. She's a size
those aren't going to fit
6 in women's. And I was like, I'm going to make this work. So
did you just put for reference? You're probably like a size 10 men's or something. 12.
Okay.
So
you put one on each toe.
So I run upstairs first, and I also grab the dish gloves because I'm like, I need to reach my hands in this disgusting pool. So I got these like pink hot rubber mitts on, and I run downstairs, grab these galoshes that do not fit.
So somehow Diana has all the equipment necessary to do this, and you have none of it.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but yeah. So I grab the galoshes and just sort of like just pull them onto my leg. And they're small enough that I just get the bottom of my foot in. And so it's essentially a galosh high heel at this point. So I get my high heel galoshes on, slap the garage door opener, and then go traipsing out, basically catwalking out into this pool. And I'm thinking, like, there's a few possible really bad outcomes. One is that I roll my ankle and go down in this pool, which is just sort of replaying in my head.
You should have set up a camera just to keep an eye on this because you could have made some good YouTube money.
That's true. To offset the cost of the medical bills.
Yeah. So I managed to sashay out there to the drain and then get it off. And I get it off, take off the mesh thing, and the water's not going down literally at all. And I'm like, well, shit. And now I'm out here in my galoshes we're holding this leaf.
I'm also envisioning the pure disappointment of you being like, like
that's
getting this wire mesh off and then just watching it and it's just
not doing anything. Yeah. So I managed to like dump all the stuff, get back inside, get my high heels off and get, sort of cleaned up, called the plumber and found out that if you call a plumber on the weekend, if they come to your house, which I did not allow them to come to my house for this reason, it costs $250 for them to come visit at all.
Which is got to make that weekend money.
Yeah. Which is freaking wild, considering a plumber's kind of like the doctor of your house.
But also, it kind of costs you the same if they come on a weekday, because then you got to take a day off of work because they're like, "I'll be there,"
sometime.
I'm busy. Maybe I won't even show up. You know,
Used to say,
I'll be there between 8 and 8. So
get ready.
but that's 8
Get ready,
a.m.
but not
Monday
too-
to 8 p.m. Friday.
yeah, yeah. Take the week up. Cash in on those vacation days to save your weekend money.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened then?
That's it.
You just
I still got to handle this
I
drain
just got
problem.
this
That's it.
pond.
Mhm.
So I guess something got in that hole that's at the top of it. I guess
I don't know what the hell happened.
maybe there's a little horrifying creature in there.
I don't know how it would get
That
in.
when
That's
you,
the
reach
thing.
your,
is, like-
when you reach your hand in to get the stuff out, it's going to get you.
oh gosh.
So basically,
I've been watching a lot of Blue Planet too.
oh yeah, there's all
There's
these.
horrible creatures everywhere.
Yeah,
There's a fucking worm, which
Is it the
I
bobbit
really
worm?
like. Yes.
Yes.
So I really like Blue Planet too because like
Oh,
literally,
God.
because the other Blue Planet was fucking stellar, but I kind of knew about everything in there because like I've always been into the ocean since a young kid.
and in the sequel, they got to
But-
up the stakes.
yeah, like
Ooh.
fucking everything was
like
a
the
thing I had
Avengers.
never heard of or seen before. Like literally everything, including that fucking bobbit worm or whatever it is.
Oh my god, they're horrifying.
It's this giant. I think they said like 5 foot long worm that just has these crazy jaws. And
it's like the Predator, right?
yeah.
oh yeah, it looks exactly like the predator,
Yeah.
and it just like
Like its whole head opens
yeah,
up.
its
into
head
a
opens
mouth.
and it lays there like a bear trap. So its head is open, like waiting for a fish to come around, and then fish like comes swimming by and it just fucking grabs him and pulls him under the mud like a tremor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's like bubbles like shooting everywhere, and, like the mud's moving around, and it kills like 5 or 6 fish a night or something just
Yeah.
crazy.
Jesus
And it's just this horrible, gross worm.
almost everything about the ocean you could turn into the worst horror story.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
If any of these things were on land,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
no, just
No.
absolutely not.
No. I learned about caterpillar legs on Friday.
Caterpillar legs.
So you know how they have
You mean the little chubby tubes they've
so
got?
that's the thing. So I was like, okay, because they're a bug, which means they only have 6 legs, but they have
But it's in a larval stage.
it's a larval stage.
Yeah.
But what's happening here? So the 6, they all have 6 little front legs, and those are the real legs.
And those are
And then-
segmented, and they're like little hands.
They're like
kinda.
little hands. Like whenever they're reaching up and grabbing stuff, it's like they got their little hands. That's what turned into their actual like butterfly, beautiful legs. You know,
Right. So you're like, what's going on with all these other weird things?
what are these legs for? So apparently, it has no skeleton and it has no exoskeleton, right?
Mhm.
It's just that's why they're so tasty for birds.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like a
It's just a goo ball.
tube, and that's why they're so
tube.
like they look great. They're just so like fluffy and kind of pressurized.
Yeah, you always
looking.
want to pet them.
Yeah, you just want to like rub them a little bit. So, so I was looking at them, and then I looked up how these legs work, and they're called pro legs. Okay,
Because their legs were pros.
because they're just dope legs.
Unlike noob legs.
Yeah, and so what they do is the way the pro leg work is actually there's only like 2 little muscles on it, so it can grapple essentially, and then sort of ungrapple. Like those are things that it can do. And what it allows the caterpillar to do is actually it has to essentially grab onto another surface in order to have something for the rest of its musculature to work against in order to move, right? Because it has no
bones.
thing to move from,
Mhm.
and so it has to grab stuff to do it. So essentially, the caterpillar turns everything it touches into its own exoskeleton for a brief time and uses that to move. And I was like, this is the trippiest, freakiest thing. I thought
Caterpillar's
maybe
like,
they
I
were,
don't need an exoskeleton. It's a stick.
yeah, I thought maybe they were kind of hydraulic-y, like spiders or something. But apparently, it's sort of like a pick your skeleton sort of situation.
Mhm.
So the caterpillar is kind of like the
I
closest.
guess that means for worms, the whole ground is their skeleton.
Yeah,
Probably
I guess it's like the closest thing you can get to an octopus on land.
there's a caterpillar.
Yeah, because it's got
yeah.
it's got a lot of legs. It's got no skeleton. It's delicious.
Mhm.
You know, all those kinds of octopus kinds of things.
You just want to rub it.
Yeah. So I want to talk about my weekend. So on Sundays, my wife and I have started turning Sundays into project day, and it's turned out really great.
Mm.
Where basically every Saturday we got a Trello board for the house. We're running like a production meeting.
Mm-hmm.
We go through our Trello board on Saturday, and we're like, "What are we going to be doing tomorrow?" So we can make sure that we're prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And the rule is just like every Sunday, we got to do at least one thing that's going to improve our,
Home.
house, our home situation. So even if it's like, cut some of the like old grass or pull some weeds or just organize some things, get rid of some stuff, whatever it is. Right. And so yesterday was all about like getting our kitchen organized and getting rid of some old, how you kind of accumulate random pieces of just stuff. You got like 1,000 different mugs that like come from various sources. Like maybe somebody gave you a mug 8 years ago and it just kind of goes into your cabinet or whatever. because on Saturday I opened up the cupboard and a thing just flew out at me, which means like you've got
too many
things in there, right? Nothing fits anymore. So one of the things that we did was the first of every month is going to be like, it's like a money day. It's like go through all your finances, make sure everything is square. And one of the things that I did quite a long time ago was I set up a simple account. So that's like this online bank thing. And I had set up a recurring transaction of just like, I set up this account as my sort of like play money fund.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up this recurring transaction, just every month, a little bit of money just goes over there. And I sort of forgot. Like I just kind of forgot that was going on because it's just a small amount.
It's the best way to do savings.
Yeah.
Where it just automatically happens and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Well, there it is.
Because I was reading about the financial independence movement, which is this idea that quote, financial independence is like being able to live off of your own money such that you don't have to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever you're doing, you're just doing because you want to do it, right? So there's a whole like lifestyle on the internet of people trying to like hit this target. And some people have been able to hit that by like age 35, even just like working normal jobs.
Well, because it's a combination of being very frugal and then
right,
yeah,
but you got to be clever and frugal.
Debts,
yeah, and they've
got proper insurance, and then probably also not getting a terrible health problem.
Not getting sick is one of the key things in the United States. And so one of the rules there is pay yourself first. So it's the idea of you should allocate your savings first and then build your budget around what you have instead of what most people do, which is like spend as much as you can, and then at the end of the day, be like, well, I guess I'll save the rest, right? So you build your budget around your savings. So that was part of my thinking at that time was like, I'll just start like throwing some money over here into this like play money fund.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday I found it, like I stumbled across it and I was like, oh shit. So I had kind of like a treat yourself Sunday. So I just kind of like marched around the house and I was like, what has been just what's been pissing me off that I want to just do? There's even stuff like my wallet is shaped such that it essentially snaps my credit cards in half. So, so like it has these weird pockets in it that kind of like offset the credit cards vertically from each other, such that when I'm sitting down on my wallet, then over time, all of my credit cards have developed like a crack through the middle, right? And I was like,
because mine also has that structure, but does not have that consequence.
Maybe it's your butt.
I have got a very powerful, steely butt. And that combined with this wallet shape, I'm like, what? Why have I just been letting this be a thing?
That is a very good question.
So I treated myself, got a new wallet, $9.
Hey, very nice, beautiful.
Right. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. Mm-hmm. But this is I think it's just a good tip, right? Like just take that, see if you can set up like a free account somewhere and you can just like auto move money over little bits at a time. And then just cash in on it and give yourself like a Christmas in spring.
I was expecting something a little more extravagant than a $9 wallet.
I also
there was a lot of lead up.
I was like, what is he gonna?
I know. I got
8 minutes of lead
I did.
up.
I got like I got a whole bunch of like odds and ends and things.
Okay,
but that was
just an example.
That's the one that I'm the most pumped about. Gotcha. But it only turned out to be $9. So I guess maybe I didn't need to like set aside an entire bank account.
Did you need to save for a year and forget about it?
I'm a little frugal. But that's
how. And it is something that I find funny about that movement is the frugality level is so high, and I think there are certain aspects of that totally make sense.
Yeah.
Given if your goal is truly just to be able to like to live off of your money, of course that means you're living super frugally off of that money also in the future. So that the idea that when taken to an extreme, that lifestyle basically says, well, yeah, you do need a new wallet because it's snapping your credit cards in half, and yeah, you could go buy a wallet for $9, but
you could also invest that $9.
Exactly. So don't.
Because as long as your credit cards still work, you can just tape them back together. And you're good. Yeah, it is possible to take that to a little too far, I think. All right, so otherwise, in the news, Levelhead's coming out this month. When?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Well, we know.
We know, and we're just gonna
we're not gonna tell
we're gonna Beyonce it, as the phrase goes, which is when suddenly it just appears.
Although we're not doing it as effectively because I'm pretty sure there was like
we're not Beyonce.
Well, there's that.
Yeah,
but also I'm pretty sure for that there was literally no lead up whatsoever. No. Just like suddenly it appeared, and we at least triangulated a month.
We technically have had some lead up, and that we've talked about Levelhead a little bit, kind of here and there, a couple of times.
But we also said it's coming out in April.
Just now.
Also that,
like a month ago.
So we're kind of Beyonceing it. I don't know if it's like a soft bounce
Beyonce.
A soft-byahnce.
We're doing a soft-byahnce of this one.
Mm-hmm.
So you're never going to know. One day you'll wake up.
There it
Levelhead
is.
will be
every
on Steam.
day your certainty will increase that it will be soon,
That's true.
you know.
Yes. Or you'll just have nightmares that you missed it.
There's
You
that
know,
also.
and then you'll wake up and you'll be in a cold sweat.
Keep you on edge.
Yeah, we still have some things to do, so it's definitely not launching today.
No. Yeah, I got to make a new trailer. We got a bunch of bugs to fix. Got some
Yeah.
new security stuff to put in there.
And I think it's safe to say it's not launching tomorrow
Also
because
true.
this podcast episode comes out the day after that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so I think we've got a few days covered now.
Yeah.
So this really narrows it down. Also, today is quarterly review day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
What about it?
What about it? Why do we do this? What is this?
Well, we do it on one hand because we're a business and we're required to by law.
Technically, we have to have quarterly review minutes once we're a corporation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
which
we're an S corp.
which weirdly has essentially no stipulations about.
No, you
what
just have
that
to have
means.
done it.
But also, like, what? Yeah, when does that get checked? Who's checking this when and
Uh,
for what?
I think it's just like it's one of those things. It's kind of like GDPR, right? Like with
Okay.
GDPR, we have to know like who all of our providers are that hold on to our customers' data. So all of our third parties, you know, we have to know that they're GDPR compliant and all this kind of stuff. But we don't show that anywhere. That's just at some point regulators could be like, we don't believe that you're GDPR compliant, and now you need to demonstrate that you are.
But when it
Right.
comes to
I think
quarterly
that's true
review
for like
minutes,
for business stuff.
because
too.
what like the fact that there are
Business
patent troll
right.
companies tells
Yeah.
me that this system is not doing what it's intended to do, right? Because like if you have a company that nobody really works at and all it does is own patents and all
Well,
you
but there are people who work there to sue people. You know, that's just a bunch of lawyers that work there.
true, but all they have to do for their quarterly minutes is just like
Did we sue
sit down
people?
and be like, "Did we sue everybody?" Yeah, Yep.
But I assume
We
that,
did.
But I assume that like you could be taking it much more aggressively than that as your troll company, you know, because you're trying to build a troll empire. So at your quarterly review, you got to find out like, are we growing fast enough? Have we bought enough patents? What's some like new range of patents and patent types that nobody's really cracked open in the troll sort of sector yet?
The answer to the question, "Are we growing fast enough?" is always no.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're a business,
But I guess that's my question is like, what? Who are the minutes for? Are they for us?
They're for us and our investors.
But we don't have any.
Well, we are the investors.
Oh,
it's,
so
just,
if you-
it's just for us twice.
So if you had investors or like a bank or something,
Then
might be
you'd
like,
send
hey,
that
wanna see
out.
your notes. Okay.
yeah,
Just because we're being a bunch of weirdos over here, none of it makes any
Yeah,
sense.
but also because by being an S corp, that puts us into a certain category where how the law treats us, where like, you know, we end up having different kinds of tax structures and whatever. And if we end up being a bunch of fuckos about it and like just taking money from the company in weird ways that are not allowed, like all kinds of stuff, right?
then we
can
got to
get in
make
trouble.
right.
And so basically, this is all basically us doing due diligence. So if the government suddenly is like, we think you're behaving as if you're people and not a company. Well, I mean, I know companies are people, but that's a different kind of people with more and better
With
rights.
more rights.
So we're talking about we have to make sure you don't pretend to be like a company, you know, because you should only have as many rights as we let you have.
But then what if they
et
check
cetera.
our minutes and then our minutes say, we're just going to take all the money?
Yeah.
Is
That's
that,
fine
Are we
because that was
vindicated?
part of the business strategy.
That was part of the
Okay.
plan. Now
Yeah.
you got to stick to the plan. That's
Got
the
it.
point of
Okay.
yeah.
That's the point of the minutes.
Okay.
So
Bureaucracy,
aside
yeah.
from the legal side of it, what's the advantage? What I mean,
Also, we're not lawyers, so I'm not 100% sure about like.
oh yeah,
how
this is
that
all just
actually
made
works.
up. I don't. Yeah,
just
We were told we have to have minutes,
Yeah.
I think.
we were
Who
told
told us that?
probably
our
some
lawyers
lawyers.
did.
Lawyers. Oh, okay. Yeah. So the point for us is really to, I mean, we are so very much doing the work every single week that if you don't plan these sort of moments where you basically take a big step backward and just basically what we do is we just get a room for the whole day and then
Did we get a room, by the way?
a Roomba.
A room, by the way.
Oh, I don't know if we did. It's a good question. We have to figure that out.
We have to just go for a long walk.
An 8-hour walk.
8-hour walk.
Yes, we get a room or get some location of some sort, and then basically just talk about. We go over a number of things. We have a structure to it that sort of reviews the past quarter's accomplishments, checks in with the roadmap, which we then update as well to see that we're sort of on track with what we think we should be doing on the really high level, and then we dive into a lot of production, like overhauls and things like that. So we do this question of where's waste coming from in the organization, which comes from the DevOps handbook, and then also just dive into like what do we think is our problem now? That's usually what it is. What's our problem? You know?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then-
you could sit around all day and pat yourself on the back for all the things you think you're doing right, but the conclusion of that conversation is always, all right, we'll keep doing that.
Yeah.
So that's not really. it's weird because
You should be looking for all the things you're doing wrong.
Yeah, it's weird because you basically spend a whole day talking about all
of your failings,
all the ways things are going wrong, all the ways things will go wrong, even all the ways that the things that you're doing well might turn around and bite you in the ass later.
Yeah.
You know? So I think depending on your perspective on it, you might walk away from this conversation thinking like, this was very negative. But it's all for a purpose.
Well, I think the key is that you don't just arrive at, oh, here's all the things that are fucking up. You make a plan. You make a plan. And you do this simultaneously on the same day.
And it's all about mitigating future risk also.
Yes. So they tend to be a lot of fun, actually. I usually enjoy them a lot because it's
something always comes out of it.
Interesting stuff always comes out. So I'm really excited to get into it today. And I think just getting that time to really step back away from the day-to-day work is really important for like doing anything, but running an organization of any scale, basically.
Yup. Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be good. It's kind of like we talked in the past about how doing the podcast every week is a nice way for us to step away from the work and zoom out a little bit and just kind of talk about higher level things. So this is even higher level than that.
Like $9 wallets. It's like
you gotta get that out. You got to get that out into the universe.
You got to see that opportunity.
Yeah. My only worry is that apparently this wallet is RFID blocking, and so my building card may no longer work through my wallet. It may be okay. So we got some testing.
What's the idea with is it because people can
apparently since your credit cards have a RFID chip in them, then people are now using RFID readers to like take your shit.
But does it work with the chip?
They have to get real close though. Do they like spank you with it?
No, they don't have to like hit you with it. They just need to be near the
That's for those cards that you can just like tap on the thing or whatever, which I don't think I've ever had one of those, or maybe all my cards do it and
they
I just have
they probably all do it. If they have the chip in it, usually they do it now.
I thought the chip has to be inserted.
I don't know.
It's got to like touch those weird little gold.
I don't know. I wasn't buying it for the RFID. It just has it. So,
I'm just curious about the mechanisms of stealing this because you have to get real close for the RFID.
Yeah, you just smack people in the butt.
That's what I was saying. Like, I feel like you got to get almost as physical as taking a wallet from someone.
But think about that. Like, if you're on like a crowded subway train and you feel like a tap on your butt and you're like, oh no. And then you reach and you feel your wallet. You're like, oh, okay, it's still there. Right. And then it turns out it's not because your wallet is actually digital and you didn't even know it. Right. So anyway, I'm not really concerned about that, but it's just a problem. So anyway, final piece of news for the day is Star Citizen. This is a game. This game has been in development since before our studio existed. This game
since 2011
started in development in 2011. So it's been going for 8 years strong. It's raised hundreds of millions of dollars. It's been in the news pretty much constantly since its inception. After 8 years of development, they finally developed the technology. Okay.
Wait for it.
To add women to their game. So, wow, guys.
Really
kudos.
Very
impressive.
Up until now, it has only been possible to play Star Citizen as a male character.
Yep.
So their most recent update, they added an entire planet and women. So that's kind of like, and they've been adding planets and spaceships and entire new game modes
the whole time.
Yeah. I think there's not much else to say about it, just in terms of like, it's so obviously crazy.
Yeah.
I think, but it does very perfectly highlight just how problematic
it does. And I was also interested in looking at all the sites that then reported on this patch because every time they put out a patch, that's people talk about it, and how just like that fact was like nobody seemed to. Nobody was talking about how weird it was that it took this long for this to happen.
People be like, great, there's a new patch coming out. There's a whole planet. Also, there's women now for the first time.
Yeah,
didn't Rock Paper Shotgun make fun of them now?
But it was like the very gentle pokes. Yeah. It wasn't anybody just being like the fuck because that was to me the proper response. But it was interesting because this is the argument that you see constantly from AAA studios when they don't have playable female characters in their games. The classic explanation is, well, we didn't have the budget to make both male and female characters. And if you look at this patch, what they basically said they had to do is they had to go sort of like retrofit. They had to go back through every system in the game and make it work with these like new female, like separately rigged, separately animated characters. Right. And so basically without them coming out and directly saying it, they're using that same case where they're just like, it's just so expensive to add another kind of character that we just couldn't do it until here we are $500 million in 8 years.
Right,
later,
but the
we finally could do it.
subtext there is it's expensive because we never planned on it.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
like
It's a tech debt problem.
because going back and retrofitting your system that was never intended to have female
Then
characters.
of course it was really
That's the
fucking hard
problem.
and expensive.
That's the problem.
Yep.
Come on. Anyways, all right, let's get on. Let's get on to some questions.
wild.
These questions come from our listeners over at podcast.bscotch.net. If you'd like to get your question on a future episode, you can go there and then put it in there. People will vote on it, and then something happens.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started. First question comes from CreatorRedA. Can you do a live demo of your Butterscotch Shenanigans tune?
In order to do it, it'd have to only be Sam and Seth because I actually was not part of it.
That's right.
We didn't get you in there?
Nope.
That was still.
I
that was still
did.
your arm at the time.
I did the
Yep.
buh and the scotch.
I did the tur.
Sam did the tur. And then we went back and forth a bunch of times because we couldn't figure out if it was supposed to be dur or tur.
We originally had a dur.
It was like
Bud-dur.
dur.
Turned out to sound
Butterscotch.
real dumb.
Butterscotch. Yeah.
Yeah. And then actually Patrick, Fat Bard, sings the Shenanigans as a chorus with himself.
Yeah.
So we don't actually have all of the equipment needed
Yeah.
to execute the jingle.
That's true.
I also have an allergy to being told
You
to
put,
sing,
to
to
put on the
perform.
spot.
Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah.
Dance, Adam.
Exactly. Like even if I wanted to, then I would not.
Should I be? Should I tell the hat dance?
You should tell
story?
me that.
I think it's
All right.
time.
All right, everybody, listen.
Take us back.
We're episode 197 now. It's time to finally reveal my dark past. I've never. I also have that same thing where, like, if somebody commands me to entertain them or perform or whatever, I'm immediately like, no, I just don't want to. I don't want to do it. So when I was, I think 4 or 5 or something like that, we had a big family reunion. We're about every 5 years. We have this giant extended family that's all over the country. About every 5 years, they get everybody together. It's like 150 people. And have a big get together, and there's all kinds of like games and just food and it's just a big.
It's
party.
a great time.
Things like skid loader races, you know, it's farm stuff, but it's awesome. So one of the things that was at this particular event was a lot of the family all had kids around the same age, around my age at the time. And they decided it would be great if everybody commanded their children to perform a dance. And so they found this weird song about having a hat. And it was this guy.
I've got a hat.
Got a hat.
Yep.
That's the chorus.
That's all I
But then you
remember.
also put your hat forward and then you pull your hat back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you pick your hat up and down, up and down, up and down.
And then
Something,
like,
something,
flip it
something,
around.
hat.
Yeah. So basically, like they got this song where basically the lyrics of the song were explaining what you're supposed to do with your hat.
It's like a hokey pokey.
It's like a hokey
Which
pokey.
is useful for children because that way you just do what the song tells you to do.
Right. So that was basically the thinking. The adults were like, "This will be cool." Our kids, we'll throw them up on stage. We'll give them all these oversized hats.
Videotape them.
We'll
It's gonna be
videotape
so
them.
Cute.
We'll videotape them. And whether they want to do it or not, that's not our concern, you know, because we're the adults here and we get to just force children.
And
to
these
do
are our
things
property.
for our, for our whims. So I was opposed to this. I was like,
How old were you?
I was 4 or 5. I was like, no, I don't want to go on stage, wear a hat, and dance around in circles for everybody else's amusement. And
As a child, I am not here for this.
I'm here for playing. Okay, that's my agenda for the day. You can't just derail my whole fucking plan. You
I
know?
came in here with the plan. I got a schedule. I got to meet with these other children
Yep.
over the play pit.
I've got a
soon.
2:30 jungle gym date, and that goes until 4 p.m. And then I've got nap, and then
yeah.
you can't just throw my whole day
No.
into disarray like this. So there was a big back and forth about this. I was like, no. Their parents were like, yes. And then that was
That's back and forth.
that was the back and forth because the logic, like as a child, you can't argue against this because all the parents have to say is, I'm telling you to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of your,
You don't have any rights.
yeah, regardless of your rationale, it just doesn't fucking matter. Right?
Also, you probably can't articulate your rationale very well as a 4 or 5.
but here's the problem.
Before you can't get much further than I don't want to.
Right, but like that should have been all that was needed.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's like, I want you to dance on stage, and you're like, but I don't want to. And then that should be like, oh, okay, well then I guess do it.
Maybe, but I mean, children are also notorious for not wanting to do most things that would be positive.
Most things
You
that
gotta
are
make them do
most things
stuff.
that are good for them.
Most things generally that someone
Well,
tells
most
them to
things,
do, right?
yes.
So
This might have been one of those cases that
I think it just
that didn't apply to.
yeah, and it just sort of everything falls into that same circle where at some point you're like, look, I'm telling you to do things, and you do the things because it's important for you to do the
That's
things.
how this
Yeah.
relationship
regardless of what it becomes. You know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
And so I
you're
end up on
commander.
stage. I'm there. I'm in the middle.
Bright lights.
Bright lights are there. I'm it's sweaty.
Sweating.
It's a hot summer day, and all the parents are there. There's like 50 people watching, and there's a videotape. You know, the whole thing. It's a big production value. So all these other kids are doing their hat dance, and I stood
And all these
defiantly.
other kids includes me and Sam.
Adam and Sam are there
We
doing
were
the
in
hat
there.
dance.
To be fair, I remember literally nothing of this.
I also
didn't
don't
mind
remember
it at all.
Yeah.
This was a formative moment of my childhood, and I stood there defiantly in the middle
and didn't move.
and did not move.
You did smirk though.
I smirked because
A
I
lot
was
of
like,
smirking.
I'm winning. You know what I get to do now is I get to just throw a wrench right in the middle of this circus. Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm not doing the hat dance, and I'm going to stand there on video and make sure that it's known
Which
that
this
I
is the
am.
reason that I know anything about this is because of just the story, but then also because we have video proof of it,
Yeah.
which is then particularly hilarious.
So you know, I feel like that really shaped me as a man.
It has been one of those like the stories that keeps sort of rearing its head, you know, in later life. It's like, tell me what happened in your childhood. A hat dance.
The hat dance.
Mhm.
But this isn't to say. So I'm not a particular fan of like dancing just as an activity. I don't really do it a lot, right?
No, it is a little bit of a stretch to call that a dance, I think. The whole-
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole
That was more of a
boogie.
that was a performance.
Yeah.
But I did, you know, in high school, for example, I participated in a like a choreographed dance for like a homecoming. You know, I've done these things, but by choice.
Yeah.
And that's the important.
Mhm.
That's the important takeaway. So, anyways, I guess we're not going to sing the jingle.
No.
Yes, it's the moral of
Yeah,
that story.
that's the moral of the story.
All right, number 2, Tippyfizz Veeryboop asks, general life question: what's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Samoas.
Yeah, it used to be 100% Thin Mints.
Isn't that what Dwayne Johnson is?
He's Samoan.
Samoan.
He's Samoan.
It's close.
He's a Samoa.
but the Samoas.
That's my favorite Girl Scout cookie too.
Yeah. They recently took over my top spot.
I think they're just
I'm
the
a big
most-
fan of the Dwaynes.
The problem is when
they're
I
just
eat
the most
them.
diverse in terms of their taste set.
Yeah.
You know.
But when I eat them now, I can only eat like 3 or 4 of them, and then my stomach actually hurts a little bit.
That's
I
just
can
the
still
feeling
eat-
of getting ripped.
That's true.
You know,
Apart from the inside.
No, like you eat those Dwayne. Like what? Dwayne Johnson needs to eat like 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day. Like, how do you think he's doing that? Fish? No,
100% Girl Scout cookies.
he's eating Samoans.
Uh-huh.
Fellow Samoans
Samoas.
or Samoas?
He's eating Samoans. It's cannibalism and Girl Scout cookies.
Mhm.
Those are the things that
Gets the job done.
fuel Dwayne Johnson's gains.
Mhm.
So Samoas. My secret weapon asks, do games like Beat Saber and VR count as a workout? I play it like 3 or 4 times a week now that I have an Oculus Rift. And after about 30 minutes, my heart rate is up, my arms are sore, and I'm sweaty. But is it
Then
sufficient enough to be considered working out?
I think working
Sounds like a
out,
workout.
literally anything that isn't you sitting around is working out.
Yeah, it's basically once your heart rate is jacked up a bit for an extended period of time.
So also drinking coffee, that's a workout too.
Yeah.
I think that quite counts.
Mm.
I mean,
Well,
by
no,
your definition.
But you
we just-
said you
we
can't be
just fit
sitting
right in.
around. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
so basically like
Mhm.
rowing and drinking coffee are not working out.
Well, rowing, you're
No,
still
because
moving.
really,
just
you're
sitting there.
not just sitting there. You're sitting there and you're flipping your
it's the
torso
just-
back and forth.
Mhm.
It's the just is
Flipping
the
your
key.
torso. You're doing torso flips.
You're also like sliding back and forth. You know, there's not even a stationary element, really.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You're more scooting than you are sitting.
Yeah.
You're scooting your
I
butt
feel like,
around,
though,
like
if
a
you were
dog wiping its
sitting-
butt on the ground, you know?
If you're sitting around, I feel like that's a workout though, because that implies that you're sitting in lots of different
It's like a
places.
musical chair.
And like, how are you
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
get there?
So
if
it's
you're
more
not
about
walking?
it's just sitting there.
If you're sitting there, that's not a workout. If you're
Yeah.
sitting around, that's good because now you've got some travel time from chair
Yeah,
to chair.
yeah. I think, but also if you're only kind of shambling, that also doesn't really count. It's like if you're on an intentional walk where you're going from point A to point B, those things are like some
Right. So if you're,
legit distance
sitting
away.
around with power walking intervals,
Yeah, that's
you know,
awesome. That's fine. That works.
you take some strides. You stride from one chair to another.
Mhm.
Sit there. Stride to another.
And if you
sit
wear a
there.
VR headset and flail your arms around while you're doing it, that's just bonus
And
steps.
you're working out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, there's Wii Fit. There's all kinds of stuff. I did a Wii Fit when I was in college. I got one so I could do. I don't know.
They were just cool.
There was no
It
point to
so
that.
new. You were like, what is
I was
this?
in college, so there was a gym already on campus. I don't know why I needed that, but I had one, and it did a good job. You know, I did the yoga
Yeah, I
thing, and they
think-
like track your balance, and then everything hurts.
My problem was I played. So the only time I played Beat Saber, I realized afterwards that I had just locked my elbows essentially to my waist, and so I was just playing like this because I was used to playing with like a Wii Fit controller.
Oh
right?
yeah,
which you could actually just flick your wrists. You don't have to do almost anything with
Right.
any of those the Wii controllers. And so when I played Beat Saber, I was basically doing the same thing, but you actually do have to move. And so I sort of ended up doing this weird, like
stiff
armed torso,
stiff upper arm,
yeah,
but
it's
whipping
like
your
a
torso.
it's like a T-Rex playing this game. So I did not get a workout in the slightest, but I wouldn't doubt that if you're actually.
But I bet you looked awesome
I think I looked so weird that
Doing
it was
it.
unbelievable.
with your elbows tucked in and whipping your forearms around.
It was very strange.
Yeah, I think the key is there's just two sides of this question, which is one, don't gatekeep other people's exercise. You know, like
Yeah, man.
there's the question of whether or not a thing is exercise. That's a bullshit question.
Are you sweaty?
Are you getting
Done.
sweaty? Are you doing it? But even that, like, do you think you're getting exercise? Okay, so that's part one. But part two
I don't
is
think
also
you just
don't
get
lie to
to-
yourself about it. This is part two. That's what
Are
I'm
you
talking about.
sore?
Part two is now on your end. So on one hand, don't gatekeep other people. If someone's like, "Hey, I exercise every day because I go on a mile long walk,"
Because I
right?
play dope beats and Beat
Or I play
Saber.
dope beats and Beat Saber, then it's not in my position to judge whether or not that's really exercise. But on your position, you also shouldn't say, "Well, I walk. This is going to get me ripped," right? Or I play Beat Saber.
Therefore,
I'm going to definitely live until I'm 120, right?
Mhm.
Right, because the problem is like obviously not because Beat Saber is gonna, at some point your Oculus is gonna break down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna
And then
run
you're
out of
just gonna
beats.
die now.
Yeah.
But
then your
also-
workouts are done.
But also
and
because
you're
that game doesn't include any cardio.
Yeah.
So there's no like running.
Well, it
right?
probably
unless you're in
honestly,
the unless
It
you're
probably
in
is
probably
cardio.
is pure cardio.
It's just that
That's
it's
true.
not.
Yeah.
It's not going to be heavy.
you're not
it's
gonna
not, it's
you're
not
not gonna
intense cardio.
you're not gonna become Dwayne Johnson.
Exactly. Yeah. And you might not even become much more healthy than you already are.
So you could
I have
judge
no idea.
exercises by their ability to transform you into Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. So the
Dwayne
question
scale.
isn't whether or not it's an exercise. The question is
What are
how
your
much
goals?
exercise is it, and what are your goals?
Does it align with your goals?
Yeah. That's the real question.
Yeah. If you're trying to go to the Olympics for powerlifting,
It's not going to
you're
help.
gonna broaden. You need to broaden your horizons slightly past Beat Saber, but
And
not
if,
much.
If you want to be
But-
able to run, faster than somebody chasing you, probably beat.
That's when you
Beat
gotta
Saber's not
play-
the thing either.
Yeah, you gotta play like leg saber, which is where you
Is that
You're
the-
flailing
stand on
legs
your
around.
hands and you have lightsabers stuck to
I think
your
it's
feet.
Yeah, you just strap the Oculus things to your legs.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
Does the
yeah.
Oculus know if
dude,
it's
that would
upside
be
that.
holy shit.
Does it know if it's upside down though? It must, right?
Well, no. So I'm thinking is if
No,
you.
the Oculus, because if you're now standing on your hands, that you're looking at the world upside
No,
yeah.
down.
Here's
Yeah,
what
it
I'm
can.
thinking.
It
Because
knows
have you
that,
done
right?
that ab exercise where you basically sort of you like sit on a bench and then lean so that you're basically forming a V and then
Yeah.
you sort of stretch your legs out.
Yep.
And it's like brutal on the abs because you could do
Oh
this
shit!
with Beat Saber. So,
So you
you
gotta
get on the
tape-
edge of your couch,
Yeah.
sit on the edge of your couch and lean back, and
Or
then
just on the
strap
floor also works.
on the floor, and then strap the Oculus things to your feet, and then play Beat Saber that way.
Or should even at that point just still do it on your hands, but just maintain that V position
Ooh,
the whole
yeah.
time.
Yeah, you play Beat Saber while planking. You
Yeah.
know, it's like you got to be
Well,
doing one of
V-upping,
those
I
side
guess,
planks.
but-
Do a V up. Do
Yeah.
squat. Do a squat between like whenever you get a break, like do 3 squats.
Hell yeah.
You know? If you
Squat on the beat.
yeah. Oh shit. That
Yeah,
would be,
you
That'd be a
could-
good hit workout.
Oh my god, that'd be brutal. Are you kidding?
Yeah, you'd be.
That much arm flailing around?
yeah.
Yeah,
So maybe the question isn't whether it's exercise because of course it is. The question is how far can you take this? You could really.
Well, because I think
Yeah.
this is one of the sort of untapped secrets of VR when it comes to exercise, because
Exercise is boring
it's boring and it hurts, and so if you can be distracted from it by
and also having a blast.
and having a great time, then now you can actually truly ask these questions of like, just how far can I take it? Because it's sort of like how people are trying to use VR as basically a sort of a pseudo treatment for painful medical procedures
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
Because like they put headsets on you and you're just distracted by some beautiful environment because you're killing aliens or whatever, and they just can stab you in the back or like cut your butt off or whatever they're doing, and you don't even notice. It's just fine. So you can apply the same thing to exercise.
Yeah. Be careful wearing your VR headset. Someone might come in and
Someone's-
just cut your butt off.
Someone's gonna cut your butt off.
You won't even know it
I'm pretty sure that's a medical procedure.
until you're buttless.
Yeah, it's a
buttectomy.
Buttectomy. All right, next question comes from Beekie Boppaboop. How will you test what will happen when people are jerks in Levelhead? I wouldn't want to test it because I don't want to get banned.
We actually asked our testers to test it.
This is why we pay internal QA.
Yeah.
So that we can do terrible things to their data and their accounts and their profiles, like ban them, delete their levels.
Mm-hmm.
And they just got to keep playing.
Yep.
You know, because
no matter what happens,
that's their job.
Yeah.
You know, if we just ban random people or during our pre-alpha, that's probably not as good.
Yeah.
But there will be a testing phase because a lot of this has to do with scale.
Yeah.
And the exact tweaking of what the numbers mean, right? Because we're collecting, we can already collect reports. Wait, can we yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can already collect reports. But we don't yet have a way to
do something
about with that.
We can delete levels easily.
Yeah. But to, for example, see the list of reports ranked by something. We don't have that actually in place. That's actually the thing we're tackling this week. But even once we do, the question is if something's been reported once, is that fine actually? What's the threshold at which we need to actually look at a thing? And those are the kinds of questions that we actually can't really address until this thing goes live and people start using it, because that'll tell us kind of what it means for somebody to report a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean on average that thing is actually a problem? Or does that mean on average that people are sort of misunderstanding the purpose of reporting?
Well, we did have a very funny thing happen during the alpha, which is some of the levels are hard. And of course, a lot of the player made levels in particular are very hard.
Yeah.
Because it's much harder to make a balanced level than it is to make it something that's very difficult. And so frequently the joke in the Discord was because the button that you see when you pause the game is report offensive content. And people jokingly would be like, oh man, I kind of want to report this as offensive. It's so fucking hard.
It's so
that's
hard.
the other thing we're worried about.
So yeah.
So we actually, we need to move the report button way out of the way so that it's not right there in your face when you're first the most frustrated with a level.
And so it doesn't say offensive content because people apparently are reading that.
Right. Yeah. So
it's too broad
of framing.
The problem is if you just say report it, then people will be even, I think, more likely just to use it.
What we need is, it says the hover text or whatever it needs to say, report code of conduct
confirmation
violation.
message or something.
Yeah, you got confirmation message explaining what this means. Yeah. And then you can go through with it.
And then also have, punishments for misreporting or something, which is probably some future step we'll have to also take. Because it's going to be, so what we do have with the aliases, because actually there's a bunch of stuff that people can report, right? There's levels and there's usernames. So there's two things people can report.
Well, that's a bunch. That's the smallest bunch possible.
That's true. So with usernames, so we actually track if you report something, we just store that for 30 days, right? So I just have it expire because I need to know that shit forever. But the idea there is that if somebody were to get brigaded or something, that we now have the list of all the people who brigaded that person.
Yep.
Which means now we can.
So if we detect
that's
what
punish
happened,
that list. And that's actually probably we'll end up having to build mechanisms like that to deal with a lot of this, because I think there actually aren't, as a fraction of people, there aren't that many people who misbehave with respect to these kinds of features. Right. It's just that there are enough, and those who do misbehave a lot, that it becomes basically impossible immediately to separate out the real stuff from the fake stuff by volume. But as soon as you just start aggressively banning people who are misusing the tool, then I think actually it can get cleaned up pretty fast.
Yeah. And it's weird though, because you have to assume that every level that gets made is going to have some baseline number of reports for no reason.
Yeah. But it depends on how many people are going to see it. Cause if say 2% of people falsely report any level that they think is hard or whatever, right? Or just every level they see because they think it's funny, right? Then that means that any given level has to be played by, really a few hundred people just for to make sure we hit that number where when we see a report, it's actually probably because of that. Yeah. So then the numbers get really weird.
Yeah. And then you got to do stuff we've talked in the past about how muting is our favorite moderation concept, where you basically let the person keep doing the thing that they're doing. Yeah. And what they don't realize is that nothing's happening on the other end. Yep. Right.
Yeah. I love muting people on Twitter. It's just one of my favorite activities.
It's just the best.
Whenever someone's just kind of mean to us, I'm like, nah,
not anymore.
I don't need this. Literally don't need it at all.
Right. On that note, speaking of, did we talk about April Fool's Day at all? No. But today is April Fool's Day, right?
Which is sort of the games industry's favorite day of the year.
So some great stuff comes. So somebody posted in the chat yesterday from Corsair. I want to say their April Fool's thing was a game launcher that ties all of your game launchers together into one mega launcher, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very well done, very hilarious. But what I was most amused by was this was on Twitter, was the replies to it, because a weird like 25% of responses were people angry about it not being April 1st. And then arguments about time zones,
right?
Because
they posted it at the end of the day, sort of like Pacific time.
Yeah.
March 31st.
Yep.
Which means in half of the countries in half of the world, or not half the countries, actually half the world.
According to this, this really angry guy, he's like, yeah, but it was published in California, and where it is definitely not April 1st. So this is. Anyway, so this was happening, and then this guy, and then they muted him, and then so he was ranting about being muted just for disagreeing about this. We're like, this isn't a platform for you to. I just found it so interesting and baffling.
But it's remarkable that, because this video, I was laughing my ass off.
That was great.
It was so well done, and they basically, yeah, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's this Corsair game launcher video. Essentially, they parodied everything that's just going sideways and dumb about the game.
They also made it so that you could now you have this infinite list of games that you don't play. So now you can recycle them. So by combining multiple games.
You can't get a refund.
They have a refund button. It just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but you can recycle them.
You can recycle them, and so you can now take 3 of your games that you don't want anymore. You mix them together, then you get a loot box, and that loot box
has a new game that you don't want.
That's fantastic. And then the one that they spat out in their example was then a duplicate of one they already had. It was good.
Yeah, and they had a bunch of fake game titles on there, like Sass Effect and shit like that. Yeah, they were like, and also, are you having a hard time managing all your friends lists? Well, now, anytime one of your friends comes on any one of your 15 platforms, you'll get this pop-up alerting you. And so then they showed like one person logged in, but like 15 pop-ups stacked up on the screen.
And they just started like flying around.
Yeah, and then and they're like, you can also press Shift Tab to bring up the overlay for every single launcher you have at the same time. So then it's like Steam and just like all these overlays that like appear on the screen, and then the person's like moving windows trying to find
like a game. Oh my gosh, I need to watch this. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's so good.
I watched. I saw Leagues yesterday, which they announced it's the kitty versus puppy version of the game.
Nice.
Where
they actually changed the game for theirs, don't they?
Oh yeah, they add a game mode called Earth, which is ultra rapid fire, where basically the cooldowns almost become 0 for all abilities. And this one, they added a cannon right next to the start of the game, so you just hop in the cannon and then you just point to where you want to go, and it just fucking shoots you across the map.
This is awesome.
It's amazing. It's so fun. And then
wait, is their slogan for this game mode "Welcome to Earth"?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. So, and every year they do something slightly different with it. But yeah, this year they had like this, it's like this kitty versus puppies situation. So they reskinned a bunch of the characters into just these adorable things.
Yes.
And then they had a little video that was like a 2-minute video that is the kitty versus puppy pageant. And so it's all these characters like basically doing their moves, but being super duper cute. And one of them is the character's name is Rengar, and he's like this huge lion thing that essentially stalks and like kills people in the jungle, right? So he's kind of like the Predator. But like this really creepy lion with like one eye, and he comes out. He's in like a pink hoodie, and it comes out on a Roomba because he's a cat, right? So he comes out on a Roomba, and then at the end of it, for his final thing, he throws down a box, and then like takes like 30 seconds walking around inside of it to get comfortable, and then sits. And everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And so they did such a good job with it, right? And I was like, I want this. I want everything in this video.
And then, of course, there was like 2% of people who were just really angry about this whole thing.
Well, that's whatever it is,
That's well, it's just like the reporting on levels, right? Like, no matter what happens and how great it is,
you just gotta be angry.
There's gonna be a couple of people who just can't. They just can't. They can't have it,
and they just won't.
They can't. They won't. They're gonna be yelling on Twitter, whatever.
I'm really excited for today. I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for all the good announcements and stuff coming out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think someday, once we have like the time and the resources, we need to start really investing in.
Well, I think that's what's so impressive about this, because like
the production values are very high.
Yes, and so many of the games actually build full, like this League thing. Like they build a new game mode and full skins that you can, of course, at this point you can buy. So they treat it actually as like a
Levelhead is going to be a really good platform for doing April Fool's shit. Just like
good platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing you have to be careful of as a game company is when you make your April Fool's joke that because you make the joke because it's so outrageous, right? And it's like you always have to convey it in a deadpan way, and you're like, here's what we're doing with our game now. Now you have to be careful that then like 10 years later, your philosophy on game design hasn't changed so much
that it matches
that is now what your game is. Because this happened in World of Warcraft in several different dimensions. So, like for example, they had a April Fool's prank back in in their first ever April Fool's for World of Warcraft. They had patch notes. They would like put out an entire patch note of just like hundreds of changes to the game, and one of them was we have attached a global cooldown to every ability. Because like previously there were a bunch of things that you could use that would then like you didn't have to wait for other things to be done, and you could use those abilities. And at the time, there was like an uproarious, like, "Oh my god, this is so stupid!" Like
that would be such a bad
such a bad game experience. And that's actually how the game is now. And they just did that very recently. And then at one point, there was an add-on that was created called Gear Score, which basically applied a point value to every piece of gear. And this was used as a stand-in for people to judge other players. So if someone was like, "Hey, do you want to come to my dungeon?" You need to have a gear score of over blah, right? So Blizzard made a April Fool's prank where they I can't remember what the actual acronym was, but it made the word EPEEN. Okay. And they were like, "This is your EPEEN," and then it was like a bar that was next to your character, and the stronger your character was, the longer the bar got, right? And so it was like a really tall, like vertical pole kind of like coming off your character. So that way people can just glance at your character and see how long that EPEEN is, and then that's how powerful you are.
Stand next to each other and compare.
Yeah, and of course at the time this is a hilarious joke because under no circumstance would the game just boil down your entire character into a single number. Except that's exactly what it does now. They have a thing called item level, and that's just a number. And then if you don't have a high enough item level, people won't bring you to their groups, and that's built into the game, right? So I think there's a certain amount of foresight you need to have to make a good.
But I wish some of the fun April Fool's things that they made jokes about got in, as opposed to as opposed to the ones where like, "Oh, that would ruin the game," and then it shows up,
and then people are like, "This ruined the game."
What about just the just the weird shit?
Yeah, I think the ones that are the most fun to me are actually from tech companies, because also like the less you know about tech on the one hand, but also because people come up with really crazy shit that often sounds fake anyway, but that isn't fake. So that when it comes to like Google, for example, and some of their stuff, I'm always like, I always have that moment where I'm like, is this real? This has to be a joke. But also, I sort of like the first time I was baffled by one of these was one of the first Google ones. And I don't even remember the details, but it was the idea was they're going to turn sewer systems into like an internet access point. but their way of doing it, of presenting this was so fucking elaborate and so detailed with and everything was so straight faced, like that I saw this thing and I knew it was April 1st, but I was also like, nothing, like I'm almost 100% sure this doesn't make sense.
Too real.
And this can't be real, and it is April 1st. But
I feel like this is a perfect opportunity because like as a company, if you're like, okay, here's the thing. We have this idea. It's insane. Yeah. It's truly insane, but if we can pull it off, it would be amazing. But we need to see how people feel about it.
Do a market test on April 1st.
Market test on April 1st because the response at that time is never people aren't pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Instead, you often get this response where people are like, ha, ha, ha. But then you get a fraction of people who are like, actually, I kind of want this. Which is how I felt about the Corsair game launcher.
There were a lot of people who
if you look at the YouTube comments, it's like one in four people in YouTube comments were like, but can I have it though? Like, I do want a launcher for my launchers. So maybe it's just market testing. Let's get on to one final question. This question comes from IrishLuck. What can I do to better my chances of getting into the beta for Levelhead? I have already prayed to Cthulhu and I don't know if it worked. What other rituals should I perform? So
none will help
ritual tips?
None will help you
because we're not doing a beta.
That's we
did an alpha.
That's a good point. I forgot about that. Alpha went so well that we were like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So
we're just doing internal testing.
This is an interesting question because what's the difference between an alpha and a beta? Why do you do them?
Well, we should also say we originally called the alpha because we were going to do a beta.
Correct.
So that's why it was an alpha when really it ended up being the beta.
Right. So the way that we've always kind of thought about it internally is like alpha is a sort of like a proof of concept and early pass on looking for major core problems with the game.
Whether that's a design problem or bugs.
Right. And then the beta is essentially
what you intend to release. You just want to make sure it's fine.
It's a spot check looking for any weird edge cases and stuff like that. So we actually kind of did that because we did our pre-alpha and then we did our full alpha. Our pre-alpha was with a smaller closed group of people, about 20 people. And then our alpha was a couple hundred people. And those were contiguous. Like the pre-alpha just led right into the alpha. Mm-hmm. But really it was more like an alpha and a beta because the game only crashed once. Mm-hmm. And we did come across some issues during the pre-alpha, like with the game physics and stuff, that we had resolved by the time we got that bigger group in. So really, it was kind of like we did an alpha and a beta in a 10-day period.
But also really early access is beta.
Yes,
because
the game is in beta.
Yeah.
During early access, it's not a 1.0. So
and we're gonna have a beta channel inside early access.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. So if you want to get access to early access.
The idea here is that so we're treating the early access launch as a real game launch, right? We're going to make sure the game is as stable as we can make it, that we trust what we put out, and that it's polished and all that kind of stuff. But of course, a lot of why we're doing early access is to be able to test the new things that we're doing and the changes that we're making. And so we are going to have, I believe, an open beta channel, which will basically that'll be the bleeding edge builds. So any given build as it works its way through the pipeline is going to hit our internal QA team first. They'll do their checks. If it passes, then it'll go into the beta channel. Mm-hmm. And then it'll sit in the beta channel for an unknown period of time as anybody who's opted in there will get to use it. And then every once in a while, one of those builds, one of those ones that have been in beta will now actually graduate and become the sort of production build that everybody has access to. So if you want that bleeding edge stuff, you'll actually be very, very close to what our internal QA is seeing if you're on that beta channel.
Yeah. Now, we will be withholding some things for larger content drops. Because one of the things that we learned in all of our research about sort of how games do live ops and stuff like that is even though we can develop content, I mean, we do develop content at a continuous pace, right? So we don't like one day develop 20 new items for the game. That takes time. And it also takes testing and everything else. What we learned is that if you deliver that stuff on a continuous basis, then people weirdly don't care.
Well, they also can't keep track.
They can't keep track. Yeah. Well, that's why they don't care.
And there are also just too many active versions that are slightly different of the game out at once, which is then just weird.
Yeah. So we'll need to, even though we're going to be working on content continuously and working on new updates and bug fixes and all that stuff, we're going to be deploying it a little bit less frequently. And so there will be times where you'll be getting like changes on that beta branch, and then all of a sudden the beta branch will be wildly different from what's live. So if you do want to sort of like be on the bleeding edge of that kind of stuff and see what's coming, then that would be where to be. However, that's where there may be bugs, right?
There may be
bugs anywhere because the whole thing is beta, right? But that's an option for every player. So we'll probably have more information about that whenever Levelhead becomes available, which who knows? I certainly don't. All right, that's all the time we have for this week. We'd like to thank our producer, Fat Bart, for making us sound good. Thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. To get more involved in the Beescotch community, you can go to podcast.beescotch.net, where we've got merch, which is running out quickly.
The merch purge!
Because it's all on slashed prices.
Still not quickly enough. We want this out of here.
Yeah, get it out of here.
Please buy it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Please clap. We also have links to the community Discord, way for you to donate, and links to the podcast archives all over at podcast.beescotch.net. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.